Antarctica is one of the world's last pristine environments. It really is the final frontier, the greatest adventure left on Earth. When you're down there, you get this sense of no human impact. And that's very rare in our world today.
Marine biologist and filmmaker Dr. Dean Miller has spent much of his career studying life on Australia's remote islands.
They've often been referred to as the Galapagos of the Antarctic.
These wild specks of land are stepping stones on his first journey to Antarctica.
Summer in the Southern Ocean represents an important breeding time for many different types of animals. But for the New Zealand sea lion, the rarest of all seals, it's absolutely critical to the survival of their species. Within about 10 minutes of sitting on that beach, we were privy to the birth of a seal pup right in front of us. Watching that seal pup take its first breath to literally connect nose to nose with its mum and build that bond between them was just absolutely phenomenal. The winds of the Southern Ocean are always there. It's what drives the wildlife, it's what drives the currents. It really is the lifeblood of the Southern Ocean. We were in the Ross Sea region and found ourselves in the worst storm that had been in the area for 20 years. 18-metre seas with over 120 kilometre winds. That we've just received an emergency radio signal from a Norwegian yacht which is about 120 miles south of us. So we're the closest ship in the vicinity and we're on our way now to render assistance. It's just a horrible, horrible thought to think that there could be people out distressed in these conditions and we just don't know what we're going to find when we get there. Once the storm had dissipated, we moved towards their last known position, along with the Sea Shepherd Steve Irwin, and we searched for 3 days for any signs of survival.
Maybe we should just try and stay stationary.
We crossed paths with the Steve Irwin and found out that they'd found the life raft. Unfortunately, it was empty. To think that 3 people died in that very same storm system that we were in is, that'll be with me forever, I think. When you first cross the Antarctic Circle, which is merely an imaginary line on the map, you start seeing icebergs. To me, they're the real signs of Antarctica. You find these deep electric blues and the most purest of white within these structures. As you get further and further south, you start to pick up little signs of life. I guess the first bit of wildlife you see is the Adelie penguins, these tiny little black features on the icebergs as we went past. And you can literally see them look up at you on the ship, and you can almost read their thoughts of, what the hell is this thing? And, you definitely get the feeling they haven't seen many ships, if any. Here at Cape Adare, Antarctica, is the largest Adelie penguin colony in the world, and right behind me there are over 1 million birds. Watching the Adelie penguins brings you a huge amount of joy, and everywhere you look there's something different happening, from the chicks chasing the parents around to get the food after the parents have been fishing, to the adults going on fishing trips and stopping at the water's edge, all looking at each other and sort of egging each other to get in first. Eventually they all build up enough courage and all pile in together, and that's, so funny to watch. Underwater they're a completely different animal. They're these underwater torpedoes, and they have this amazing grace, speed and agility. To get out of the water, they literally launch themselves meters in the air, fly out of the water, bounce onto the ice, stand up, shake their head and walk off like nothing's even happened.
Dean's trip coincides with the 100-year anniversary of the epic journey to the South Pole by the great Australian explorer Sir Douglas Mawson.
Sir Douglas Mawson was a man who was willing to literally go to the end of the earth, to a place where there were no lines on the map. His ambition and his drive was to put those lines on the map to basically claim parts of Antarctica for Australia. Walking through the doorway into Mawson's hut, I really had butterflies in my stomach. This was something I was looking forward to for so long, and it almost felt like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, like the men were going to walk back in at any minute. Mawson was essentially a conservationist. He was really ahead of his time in understanding that as humans, we can have a serious impact on wildlife in these remote and isolated places, and if we're not careful, we could lose that wildlife forever. During our time on the expedition over the 32 days, we saw millions and millions of Antarctic and subantarctic animals, but there was one encounter that stood out much more than any of the others, and it was with an Antarctic Minke whale.
Oh!
A 10-metre, 8 to 10 tonne animal that came up to us in perfect conditions and literally played with the zodiacs for about an hour and a half. It swam around, it rubbed its back on the bottom of the zodiacs and really was interested in what we were, and there was this absolute trust from it, and I guess us as well. We were in these tiny little boats. To see an Antarctic Minke whale, the exact same species that are being taken by Japanese research vessels, come so close to a boat is a little bit of a concern, I guess. There is this inherent trust by this animal to come up to boats. There's an inquisitive nature. It really wants to see what's going on. And it would be horrible to think that a whale exactly the same as the one that we were sharing time with could be killed for research. Was a horrible feeling. Antarctica is one of those places that really gets under your skin. all I want to do is come back.